Here we go with another one. Today I have a gift for you, and it is the Greek gift sacrifice. Now, this is a very nice way to play with white or black pieces here, depending upon your setup. I recommend to pause the video to see what the Greek gift actually is. What do you think it is if you don't know what it is? If you do know, then you know exactly what white's move is here. But if you don't know, pause the video and see if you can find the answer. We actually start with the move here, starting with bishop takes h7. Nasty little check there, and we're sacrificing a piece. Now, after bishop takes h7, the king can capture. After king takes h7, we bring another piece, which is knight to g5 check. And we're going to look at all the moves that black can play, which is king g6, king h6, king h8, and king to g8. Now, we're going to take a look at the easy one first. If king h8, the idea here is queen h5 with check. And after king g8, we go queen h7, check, and mate. But black is not forced to go that way. What they can do is go king h6, which is another idea. The problem here is he's on the diagonal, which actually gives us a discovered attack. After knight takes f7, which is a double check here, hitting the king twice. In double check, the king has to move. So no matter where the king moves next, well, knight takes the queen here and actually have some decisive material, end up winning that game in fashion there. So we looked at king h8, we looked at king h6. There's king g6, which looks crazy with the king out in the middle of the street like this, and king to g8 as well. So king g8, we'll go with this one because this one is just an easier one too as well. If king to g8, we go queen h5. This was our whole idea. Sacrifice with the bishop first, bring the knight, and then the queen to follow. Queen h5, which is threatening queen h7 checkmate. Only way to really stop this is running away with rook e8 so the king can go to f8. We can take on f7 or go queen h7 check. You do have to use calculation, which we always like to say COE, calculation over everything, as you should be calculating to see which one works better. Sometimes it's queen takes f7, followed by queen back to h5, and then check, and then mating, if that's possible. But in this scenario, in this particular position, if we take on f7, we actually are not able to get the best of what we want because the king can run away to the f7 square at some point because there's something gone away from the square. What I mean is after queen h7 check in this idea, king to g8, queen h8 check, which is not mate because the knight has a way to defend with knight to g8. Now, the king can run away to this square if we go knight h7 check and this pawn isn't here. But in this case, we actually don't even go knight h7 check at all. We actually go with a different move. Let's see if you can find what that move is in this position here. The problem here is that black has an escape square, which is king to e7. So lots of times you like to work backwards from positions. Is retrograde analysis is starting with the end in mind and working backwards from that position, or really just defending what they're trying to do. The king wants to run away, so you think ahead. How can I stop the runaway move? Of course you can. Bishop a3 check, which is a really strong move. Now the knight can't move because it's pinned. You blocking with the queen is diabolical. Blocking with the knight is the same thing. In fact, if they block with the queen, instead of taking the queen, you go knight h7 check with checkmate actually. And if knight to e7, knight b or c to e7, which will be knight h7 checkmate, a smothered mate, if you will. So rook e7 is the only move. Why? Because the king wants to run away further. So now after knight h7 check, bishop a3 check, and then rook e7, knight h7 check, king moves away to e8. So when the king moves away, now we can take this knight here, and of course just having some material, feeling good about the position after king here. You can even take the queen and then take the rook. You can take on g7. It's really up to you. I probably would just take the material, and after maybe knight or king takes, doesn't really matter. We'll do bishop takes, and then king takes, and then we'll end up castling, maybe get the knight out, I would say. Probably get the knight out so that we can continue this game just having an extra rook, but it's not an extra rook. It's actually an exchange. We have the same amount of pieces, but we have a rook rather than one of the minor pieces, so we're up in exchange, as we like to say, but white is going to exchange this in for a win if you keep playing correctly from here. The Greek gift sacrifice won us some material in this situation. Lots of times it can even lead to checkmate in your own game. So one thing to pay attention to, and the last thing, in fact, that I want to mention to you guys with the Greek gift sacrifice in depth here is there's actually two ways or two things that we want to look at. Here we go. So there's actually one move we missed here, which is king to g6. So there's a king g6 one, which is after bishop takes h7, king takes, knight to g5, check once again. Now, of course, king goes anywhere. We go queen h5 unless it's king h6. But what about king g6? King g6, this is one that you usually don't see a lot. Or if you do, they are a little bit more advanced. Queen g4 is a move, queen d3 is a move, but what the engine gives, which is actually the best move, is anchoring the knight a little bit better. It is defended already, but the engine actually gives h4 here, which is a move that even I had some problems trying to make sometimes. Lots of times I would go with the queen g4 option or queen d3 and try to swing over this way. But h4 is actually the stronger move, threatening h5 check. And it's hard to even stop this. Even rook h8 still runs into h5 check because the queen and the rook defend h5, right? So it's really nice. It's threatening h5 check. The king looks absolutely crazy here, and there's problems with the idea right now is after h5 check, if king h6, we're going knight f7. This is our full idea here. So really, you can just kind of stop everything from here, as h4 is such a strong move. It's really unstoppable to stop h5 check without putting the king on this diagonal. And again, we'll go with knight takes f7, double checking and winning a lot of material there. So that's really it for the Greek gift. The last thing I want to give you guys is the Greek gift sacrifice does not work if black, or in this position, if black can get a knight to the f6 square after sacrificing, or a bishop to f5 covering the h7 square. What does that look like? If we go bishop takes h7 check, king takes, knight to g5, king to g8, queen h5. If they can go knight f6, which this is illegal to do unless you're playing on over the board and someone puts it there and then you forget that the knight could go there. Even in this situation, we could take the knight. But if the knight could go to f6, it covers the h7 square and the queen. For instance, let's say a knight was here and this pawn is gone. Just a quick example. If the knight could get to f6, the Greek gift sacrifice does not work. So now you're in trouble, right? This is why the pawn is very nice to help with that square. There's another situation too where let's say this pawn is gone on e6 and we did our Greek gift sacrifice. We go queen h5. If a bishop gets to f5, you have now failed in the Greek gift sacrifice, and there's no way that you can really make it work because the bishop can get to f5. Hence, it worked flawlessly with a pawn on e6, and the bishop's not able to cover the square on h7 there by developing to f5 in the Greek gift sacrifice. So Greek gift sacrifice kind of explained today for you guys. So hopefully you can use it in your own games. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if this actually works for you or if you've done this before. And I'll see you guys on the next video.